You've trained in France in the way they do things, the way they bake. World-renowned.
I'll toot his horn and say that it's called the Harvard of culinary schools.
Ferrandi is the name of the school. And the cool thing about this place is they have a very scientific approach, and I'm a very academic person. There's something you get tactically by using their flour, their butter, that is just so different from our flour and our butter that you can't just take their recipe home and create the same product because it won't work. So without that tangible hands-on experience, you can't adapt to Newfoundland flour, Newfoundland butter.
What makes theirs different than ours?
In France, if you take, let's say, a stick of butter right out of the fridge, it bends. If you take butter from here out of the fridge, it will crack. And so if you're trying to create a croissant where the butter is rolled very thinly between the dough and it's cracking, you won't get a good croissant.
What do you do about that?
So if you recognize that, hey, look, the butter is breaking, how warm does the butter need to be so that it doesn't break? Even though my recipe from France says the butter should be at -7 degrees, obviously at -7 degrees here, it's going to break, but if it's at 13 degrees, it doesn't. Okay. So does that mean I need to make croissant dough at 13 degrees? Does that mean that the dough is going to proof too quickly, so I reduce the amount of yeast? It gets very scientific.
That is mind-blowing.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Taking Action. I am your host, Michael Allen. Today I'm joined with my co-host, Ryan Peaton, and our guests, Mark and Eldon. Mark and Eldon are the owners of Postmasters Bakery as well as Postmasters House. Gents, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome.
Well done.
Oh, thank you. We were just talking about how the intro is the worst part of the show, but now that's over. And let's get a little bit into your backgrounds. So how did you get started with baking and Postmasters?
I started baking really young. I was 5 years old, and it goes back to my grandmother. She had rheumatoid arthritis, and she was in a wheelchair since like a very young age, like I want to say in her 20s. So as long as I knew her, she was in this wheelchair. And after school, she took care of me, and I would go to her house, and she would want a cake made or cookies. And because she couldn't do it herself physically, she would have me do it for her. She would talk me through all of her recipes and, boxed cake mixes and things like that.
That's so lovely. I have a beautiful memory of my grandmother, myself baking as well. So I love that.
Yeah. So it was sort of ingrained from a really young age. And she was sort of ahead of things, where she would alter the recipes and test different ways, like try it with one less egg this time.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
So you just didn't do Betty Crocker to the T every time?
I feel like that's how I would bake a little bit though. Unless I was really comfortable with it, I'd probably really follow the recipe. I'd be too afraid to mess it up, and then my daughter won't eat it. She'll be like, "Daddy, this is no good. This is the garbage." I'm chucking it out then.
Right.
And I stuck with it all through, my career as a musician. On the side, I was at home for doing deep dives into, sourdough bread or particular cakes or entremets and things like that.
But the bakery is not the first business, is it? Or the Postmasters House. I think actually, you know what? I think we're getting a little too far ahead. Let's go right back to the beginning of when you guys decided to become entrepreneurs.
I think it was, well, we were both working at the university, and neither one of us were particularly happy there. Looking for a change, but maybe not quite courageous enough to take the leap. Maybe it was pretty secure work, right? And then he once said to me, "I'd love to own a bed and breakfast because professor work is seasonal, quote unquote. So you'd have all this time off in the summertime." And he told me one of his dreams was to open a bed and breakfast. I said, "Well, okay, that might be fun." And and so then this house on Gower Street came on the market, and our realtor called us up and said, "You should really look at this house." And we went, "Oh, okay, well, when Barry says that we need to look at a house, then he really means it." So we looked at this house on Gower Street. It needed a lot of work. And then, so we actually closed on this house like days before the pandemic hit. Like, so the pandemic, like the world shut down March 20th, around there, right? Mid to end of March 2020, we closed on the house days before.
Wow.
with the expectation of doing a massive renovation and then opening for that summer, right?
Right.
So then, of course, that didn't happen. So we thought, geez, we gotta do something. So the kitchen was was a new kitchen because of a fire previous to us purchasing it. And so we had this brand new kitchen. So I knew about his escapades in baking and how sort of famous at the university he was for baking. So I said, all right, that's it. We're going to start selling bread and cookies. Let's go.
Wow.
Let's do it.
You had bought that place with the intent of doing the bed and breakfast, or was it the intent to do it as a bakery?
It was meant to be just a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, the bakery wasn't even
Oh, wow.
wasn't even in the mirror yet, right?
Okay.
But with the pandemic, we still needed a way to pay the mortgage, and that seemed like something we could do on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started just bread and cookies, and that was 1 day a week. On Saturdays, we would get up at 3 and go down to the house at Gower, and we took online orders and we delivered, right? Because nobody was allowed to see each other.
Right.
So we started by delivering to our friends and family, and then in a few weeks, we started seeing names on our order sheet that we didn't recognize. We're going, like this is
growing.
This is starting to grow slowly but surely. And before we knew it, I think the first week we were like, oh my God, $200. Oh, get out the calculator. If we do this every week for a year, we're going to make an extra, I don't know, $10,000. Right? We're getting rich. And then a few weeks later, like, oh my God, $400. Right? And then, and before we knew it, then we were doing Saturdays and Sundays. And then we're doing Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays because we weren't at the university, right? Because we were stuck at home. We were working from home.
Baking
To be fair, though, the computers were always open, and like we were working. And then at some point we decided this is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
There's a decision to be made, right? There's that crossroads that you come to, and you decide, is this going to be a hobby on the side? Or are we going to take the leap and sort of take our lives into our own hands and say farewell to?
I love how you started one business and it immediately just went to another business, not even related to each other.
Right.
Yeah. Bed and breakfast. Well, that's not going to happen for a couple of years.
So now let's do a bakery like within days.
Yeah.
So were you entrepreneurs before that, or that was the first venture for you?
I guess as a classical musician, you're always a bit of an entrepreneur in that you're gigging and you're, promoting yourself in a sort of freelance self-employment. Yeah. But this was the biggest leap into, not having a paycheck coming from an organization or.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I lived in Germany for quite some time, and I started my own business over there. And so I've always, growing up, I've always sort of had an entrepreneurial spirit, always starting some business or another. Failing some business one or another.
What was the business in Germany?
Friends of mine actually had a cafe and bakery.
Okay.
And I one of the first times I visited there, I said, geez, this would be a really great place for a concert, like a little cafe house concert, right? Like really cute. And at the time I was really interested in German music of like 20s and 30s, like between the wars, really excellent music, right? In the same time period as like Cole Porter and Gershwin, like really clever music. And so I did a concert there of that, and then it sold out. Then I did another one, and then I approached my friend and said, hey, what if we did a concert series? And I would, book the artists, and that just sort of grew and grew and grew. And I think, so I left Germany, geez, it must be almost 10 years ago now, and only last year they decided to stop. So they took took my business and continued to roll with it.
So you're both musicians.
Yep. Yeah.
Right, and a performer, of course.
Yep.
So what instruments do you play, if you don't mind me asking?
I play the piano, but my field was called vocal coaching, so I worked with classical singers.
Wow.
Yeah, so I dealt with foreign language diction, poetry interpretation, things like that. Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting.
And I was an opera singer.
No,
I was a singer that would go to a vocal coach.
This is blowing my mind.
That's how we met, actually. Mark filled in for a sabbatical replacement where I was teaching at the university, and we worked together there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Opera.
Yeah.
How did you discover that you could sing opera?
Geez, that's a good question. I think I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know.
How do you become an opera singer?
Well, you go to school for it, like any other trade or skilled. Like I guess it's a skilled trade, right? Like it's very much there's a lot of technique involved. It's very athletic, right? Your body is your instruments. You always have to stay in shape, whether it's like physical shape or like it's your instrument staying in shape. But yeah, went to school here at MUN and then went off to Boston University to my master's and then did an apprenticeship in Zurich. And then from there, I had my career in Germany, and had a time. Like it was a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating to go from a career or background that's nothing related to being an entrepreneur or into the field of business that you went into.
Yeah.
So, do you ever look at it and go, "Gee, this went wrong or completely right"?
Well,
because of your professional background as musicians, as performers, as opera singers, as vocal instructors, and then to have all that incredible skill and to turn around and not downplaying owning an Airbnb, but a bakery. But it's almost kind of like you guys are so talented in this area over here, but your businesses has nothing to do with that.
I think
It's an unlikely
when we
pair.
were, deliberating over making the leap out of our music careers, one phrase that really spoke to me was, "It's not starting over; it's starting from experience." And so you have all this life experience and this career experience, and you know what it's like to build almost from nothing your career, and the skills that you've developed through classical music in terms of your, professionalism and
Discipline.
grit and all of that you still have all of that. And so you're really not starting over. You kind of have a leg up on anyone who is at 18 years old heading off to pastry school. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even at 18 years heading off to business school.
Right.
Right? Like sure maybe they're learning accounting and marketing, all these things. But we've marketed ourselves this entire time, right?
There's no substitute for life experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are your roles with Postmasters? Who handles what?
I handle the bakery side of things, sort of the back of house at the bakery. So recipe development, testing, all of that sort of stuff that the customer doesn't really see. I also do all the bookkeeping, and then you handle.
I handle mostly the bed and breakfast, dealing with guests there and running that business. The marketing for both businesses is mostly me. I'll also come up with a harebrained idea and come to Eldon and be like, "Pizzeria, go, make it happen."
Don't you have pizza there?
That's exactly what happens. I was like, "I want a pizzeria." I was like, "No, go, you make it happen, go, bro."
So
I'll market it, but you make it happen.
is the pizzeria they run through the bakery? That is you guys. That's not like a third party selling
Right,
a pizza
correct,
through you.
yeah.
That's actually just an extension of Postmasters Bakery.
Yeah,
It actually fits really well with a typical bakery's like oven schedule. There's this period of downtime, probably from noon to 5, where you're not using the ovens very much. And it fits perfectly. Yeah, and the way the dough proofs and things like that, it fits in with the
love
baker's
it.
schedule.
Yeah.
You really maximize your production capacity.
Yeah.
yeah.
By bringing in pizza. of
Yeah,
all
'cause the
things.
ovens are. I mean, we had to pay for the ovens, and if they're sitting there not making money,
Right.
right? Like then it's opportunity lost, right?
Right.
So we wanted to see if we could use
So
that as much.
who
as
came up
possible.
with the pizzas?
I did the dough.
You did the dough.
I developed the dough with help through a seminar that I did,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then we sort of passed. Once we developed and perfected our dough, it's a Roman style, long rectangular pizza. Then we said, "Here's the dough. Pass it over to our chef. We have a Red Seal chef who's sort of our general manager overall for the savory side of things." We said, "Now research Roman style pizza and come up with something great." And she
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
They've been
Yeah.
fantastic, speaking from experience.
Yeah. I've had I think 2 different ones, and I love them. They're
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
We're pretty happy with them.
Yeah.
We're pretty proud of them.
Yeah, so it's doing well.
Yeah.
Well, that much was interesting. I'm like, okay, so I'm actually cycling through questions in my head. I'm like, I've got so much to go
You
through.
probably thought about it a lot. How long have you
Yeah.
folks known each other now? When did you and Ryan?
Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a interesting origin story.
Yeah.
What is it?
That goes back to the pandemic too.
Yeah, so when we bought that bed and breakfast, it had been abandoned for maybe 5 years and not winterized, so all the radiators burst, like hot water radiators, and so we had to replace them all and found it.
Nobody makes them anymore.
Nobody makes them, so you have to buy them from other houses.
Yeah.
And I think it was on like Kijiji or Facebook
Marketplace.
You were
Marketplace.
selling them.
Yeah, so at the same time, they bought the BnB, the Postmasters house.
Yeah.
I had purchased my house that I'm in now in November of 2019, a few months before, but I've really got into the renovation in the spring of 2020, just as the pandemic was hitting. And I completely gutted it, took out the radiators, put them up for sale.
I didn't know that hot water radiant.
Yeah.
I remember that. Okay.
So I put them up for sale, and these two show up. Come in one day looking, and they didn't know that 5 years later I was actually selling them faulty radiators.
I know, because one just burst there. Oh no! While we were away on the other side of the world.
Yeah, tail warranty on those. So yeah, anyway, and then we ran into each other at a mutual friend's house, and we were like,
I remember you from somewhere.
Yeah.
who is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think all night we were kind of going, who are you? God.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, it's a small city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Postmasters has grown into something that's pretty popular now. I mean, I go there almost every day. It's one of my favorite coffee shops. Well,
Thank
because
you.
it's so close, too, but it's also just amazing. I think, personally, it's my favorite coffee in town. I'm not just trying to say that because you're here and you're guests. I actually really do love the coffee. And after that, it's Second Cup. I love Second Cup's coffee as well. And then also the treats, the macarons. My daughter and I's favorite. We love the macarons. And then you had that cute little bunny for Easter.
Yep.
Gosh, she seen that and she had to have it. I knew I was
course.
going to end up
Of
buying
course.
it.
It's adorable. Little cheesecake bunny.
Name your
Yeah.
price, right?
Yeah, so I mean, what I was trying to say is that it's growing into something quite nice now. There's a good community of people there.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find your staff, and who were some key people there?
Our staff, the staff sort of grew from, a year into having the bakery, not at its current location, we got the contract up at the Botanical Gardens to run their cafe.
Okay.
And so from there, we had to hire serving staff and culinary staff. And so the culinary staff up there has both of them, Dylan and Brittany, are still with us here at Rollins Cross. And Jason, our front of house manager, started with us up at the cafe that first year. So he's still with us. And in terms of hiring, what we really look for is hiring happy people that seem really happy. And I forget the question. I feel like I've just rambled on.
No, that was great. How did you find your staff? And you answered it perfectly. I mean,
okay.
I've never heard anyone say that they prioritize hiring happy people. That's an amazing thing to look for.
Oh, it's so important. And it started for us very early, where we recognized that you can't make someone be happy. And we wanted an enjoyable workplace. And the only way to do that is to hire happy people to begin with. You can't change that.
Wow. I feel like I
they're
go
there.
right down a rabbit hole with just what makes a happy person now. What do you look for when you're looking for a happy person?
I think you can feel it in the
Yeah,
interview.
in the interview you can feel it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, within
Yeah.
minutes.
Wow.
You can tell.
All right, you got to go a little deeper. What do you feel? Is it like you feel a vibe? You feel...
Yeah, there is a bit of gut to it. Go ahead.
Is there, are they passionate about what they do? And are their answers just, those textbook interview answers, or are they really thinking about answers, and have they already thought about why they want to work in this business and things like that? It comes across so quickly. It's
very quick.
And you can tell a rote answer that has been prepared versus a real answer.
Yeah.
And just the look on their face when they're saying it.
Yeah.
And when an interview becomes just a conversation and not question, answer,
Yeah.
Right.
I find that too. And it's often the people, at first, when we first started hiring people, I thought, well, this person didn't even put on a collared shirt, or like, how dare you come in here in a pair of shorts? This is an interview, right? But now it's normally those people who we find then being the happiest, and that we end up hiring.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Interesting. It's worked for us. We've had very little turnover in our staff. I'm maybe one in how many years? 5 years.
5 years now.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, it's always the same people there every time I go in.
Yeah.
And she went off to air traffic control school. How dare she?
Right.
What's up with you people and surrounding yourself with people that are career jumping all over the place?
Right?
Nothing makes sense over there.
And all our staff seems pretty happy all the time.
So you keep going ahead and I keep going, no, wait, come back. I missed something. I'm losing something. I want to talk about something. This is the first bakery location the Postmasters house kitchen?
Yes.
So was that open? Because I've never seen that one. Was that open to the public, or did you just sell and deliver out of there?
It was all online order because there was, nobody was having any contact with anyone else.
Right.
So that was all sort of, dropped at the door and ordered online.
Didn't that open up to the public after? Because I thought I remember going. It's just down the street, right? Down the street and over a bit.
The BnB you could pick up at the door, but you weren't allowed in.
Yeah, it was also a construction site,
right?
Like we had the kitchen sealed off from all the dust and construction, but people were not coming in. No.
Okay.
So that leads me to where I wanted to ask you next is the leap of going from a property that you own that had its own revenue stream coming in from the Airbnb. So you had a kitchen there anyway, and it's kind of like a safe zone, a safety thing. Like you're not incurring extra expenses to going. We need an actual storefront. What was that like? How did you guys get to the point where it's like, we need a storefront, we need to find a space, renovate it. I mean, you might not have thought this right off the bat, but find a space, renovate it, open it to the public, and fill the shelves for people to come in. Going from having a kitchen in your Airbnb to a full-fledged storefront bakery, that's got to be a big jump.
I think for us, what happened was demand got to the point where we were turning people down for the delivery service. And then the bed and breakfast was ready to open. And we had to serve breakfast in the morning and clean up after that. Oh, okay. So that cut into the baking time. So
force yourselves out.
So it was even, we kicked ourselves out of our own bakery. So we saw the opportunity, the demand was there. It made sense. And that's when we moved to Bond Street.
That's right. We were at Bond Street before here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a bakery there.
There was. So on the corner of Prescott and Bond is where we used to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's a bakery now as well, right?
It is.
I think that's where I first discovered Postmasters. Was in that. It's like a gray building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in there, it was a small kitchen, and it served us well for what we were then. The biggest complaint we got was that there was nowhere to come in and sit down and have a coffee, right?
And that's so important.
Yeah. And then we had no storage, so our storage was the customer seating area. So that got very frustrating very quickly, and then this place became on the market there in Rollins Cross, and that was the next logical step, I think. Yeah.
So then, as we move forward and thinking through this, what do you think is the magic, I'll call it the magic recipe or the magic sauce for Postmasters? Because you guys just seem to be growing and growing and growing. I've never been to the bakery during regular business hours, of course, where it's not full. I kind of want to be like, I know the owners. I want my bagel. Move. I don't do that, of course.
Jason would be like, get at the back of the line.
No,
Oh, Jason was great.
Obviously, I'm just joking, but no, it's always full. It seems like it's really successful, and it just keeps growing. So what do you guys think is the secret to that growth, to that success? Have you pinpointed, or are you just kind of just winging it? And then what's coming next?
I think there's two things. The first one I can answer, and I'm going to hand it over. We really built a space that we wanted in this particular city. So I'm a coffee maybe a snob. And so I wanted a very particular latte that I couldn't get in this city. The trend right now is very much towards greener coffees, lighter roasts, and that's not what I'm looking for. And I like the latte milk-based drink with that chocolatey, nutty flavor and a darker roast. So everyone in town was sort of trending towards the light roast. I was looking for something else. I really wanted a place I could sit and correct papers at the time, or read or do my work. And I didn't want to go to Starbucks. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not the same as having your community space
Yeah.
that you feel like you're a part of. So building the space that we wanted was important and to our taste. And I think it resonated with a community here as well. On top of that, the growth, I think, is all Mark in terms of marketing.
Oh, you. Yeah, I don't. Yes, and I think that. So we very early on we decided that we wanted to basically have a compass by which we steered our business, and number one, always on the top of the list, was excellence for us, right? So piggybacking off a great latte or a great insert coffee drink here, everything that goes across that shelf we have to deem as excellent. Like the standards just have to be high. You've got to get an excellent bagel. Your cream cheese has to be excellent. Your babka always has to be excellent. The customer service has to be excellent, right? Of course, there's always variance depending on, anything that could happen during the day.
Yeah.
But across the board, we expect and we request excellence from our staff, and I think, and that may come from being classical musicians, where the bar is always so high, right? So that's sort of like the guiding, the cheesy North Star of our business is excellence, and so that was the number one value that we decided that we were going to run our business on.
There are 5 values that we base our business on very early. We had a business coach who talked us through this, and we decided on these 5 so that any decisions we make for the business comes back to these values.
You can take emotion out of any decision and say, does this fit our values?
So he just talked about excellence.
Yeah.
The next one is creativity. So we try to make sure that all of our employees have an opportunity to be creative. So they're not just executing the product every day. There's time in there to test new things and try other ideas.
I love that.
The next one is collaboration. There's very few products that are made by a single person in our bakery. So you might have Dominic makes the tart shell, and Anthony makes the lemon curd, and Stephen assembles it, and I might pipe the meringue on top and toast it. So it takes 4 people to make that one lemon tart. So everybody's working together. What are the other ones?
Integrity and honesty is big for us. So we always tell our employees, we will always be open and honest with you, and we expect the same. We try to do the same too with our audience. When we're telling our story or in our marketing, trying to be as honest as we can and transparent as we can. And the 5th one, humor. We try not to take life all too seriously all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that all 5 of these things come through. Back to your point about marketing, is that we try to exude and run our business based upon these five core values.
We talk about the values in interviews, so that right up front, anyone who's even considering working with us knows that this is what you have to adopt while you're working for us. It might not be your personal values that you would flag, and they might not be ours anymore, but when you're in the business and making a business decision, those are the ones we go back to. We just adopt them.
I love it. I feel like I just selected 6 values of my own that I prioritize now in the tech products that I build. And it's truth, trust, transparency, authenticity, autonomy, and accountability. So all of those values, anything I build with tech or anything that comes through my hands, I try and embed that into it. So this dating app, hopefully it'll have those things built into it. Yeah. What are your personal values? I'll put you on the spot.
I'm feeling so disorganized right now. I'm just like, oh, I have work to do.
That's why it's good, right?
It helps. It really gives
Yeah.
us something to cling to when we're trying to make a tough decision.
Yeah,
Just
or
go.
for floundering, like, oh god, we really like this person, but they're just not performing. Okay, does this fit with the 5 values? Yes, no.
How do we respond in a way that fits the values? Yeah.
The only thing that comes to mind that I incorporate into my company that I try to, I've never really sat down and thought about it, but we always try to make everybody, I've always hated the saying that everybody is replaceable. I really don't like that. And I really don't like being called, in my company, I don't like being called the boss or the owner or whatever. I've always treated everybody as equal. That everybody's contributing something important and their opinion matters, or they wouldn't be here in the first place. They're exceptional at what they do.
Yep.
And if we're going to be successful, everybody's going to be successful. So I think that it all sort of aligns, and it's kind of got the same feel and importance to it.
Yeah.
But now I really want to sit down and go, I need 5. I want to just like take a minute to outline them and be like, okay, so next time you guys are back, I'm going to be like, I got my 5.
That's how we're going to start the next show. Right?
Yeah.
What are your 5 values, Ryan?
I have homework.
But that's kind of where my brain went with it, because we've met some really cool people now doing the podcast, and we want to do a little get together in the future where we get all of them together. And I can only imagine the party we'd have, because everyone is working on something cool all the time. And like you have yours, 5 values. Just recently I discovered mine, and now someone else who we talk to is going to be like, okay, what do I value and what do I want to prioritize in my life?
Yeah. It's definitely important that when you're in business, it's and I'll notice and I'll point out to people listening, none of those values were about money. Nothing was to make the most money. Nothing was to be the most profitable. It was. And I think that, I'll kind of talk down to the corporations. Their boardroom meetings, I can imagine, it's all about how we get the profit margins higher. I think that's something that makes small business a little more special and unique, is that we're better. we're better.
Let's call it like it is.
Let's just call it like it is. No, it's but I think this is why people like small business and to do business with people like us. As opposed to buying from a corporation. These values give your company a heart and a soul and something that can't be duplicated on a corporate scale.
Well, it's beautiful. It's local. You can see the effects ripple throughout the community.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Where do we want to go next? You want to take one?
There's so many things.
There's always so many things. I feel like I'm monopolizing. You go next if you want to.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I want to know, this is actually going to come back to Ryan in a roundabout way. I want to know how you both were able to take vacation away from your business for such a long time. And Ryan, this man here, I don't think he's ever taken a vacation. He's been at it longer, I think. So how are you such good entrepreneurs that you can take a couple weeks away and travel the world and still have a functioning business? What's the secret there?
Friends and family definitely helped.
Yeah.
We have an excellent staff
That we trust.
And that takes time to build, but we're there now.
Yeah.
And it is important to us. I think we decided if we don't get away, we won't make it. Like it's just too hard to do this.
Business or personal.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah.
gonna make it.
It's too hard to go 12 months of the year, 24 hours a day, every day of the week.
Yeah.
And even, when we try to take a day off, there's always texts that come in. So we literally have to go to the other side of the planet to disconnect.
Yeah.
And it's like on the flight home, the texts start coming in.
Right.
Yeah. He's like, they know.
They know we're coming.
So do you both have roles that are not irreplaceable, but roles that only you handle with your business? Because I think that's Ryan's problem. If he doesn't go to work, the money stops coming in.
Yeah.
Right. We have managers that can keep the business running, and enough family who are willing to do some of the stuff that only we can do, And then we continue to work while we're on vacation. Of course,
Yeah.
we do the important things.
Yeah.
So you do travel with a laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, every morning I'm an early riser anyways. So every morning I'll get up at, with jet lag, I'm up at 3 or 4 in the morning. But like on a normal day on vacation, I'm up at 7 o'clock anyways. Right. I'll get up and I'll do an hour or two of work before the day starts, and then shut the laptop, and then I'm on vacation for the day.
Nice.
Right? I find that I can find a really nice work vacation balance, and answering the emails. Brittany can still text me over Facebook or WhatsApp, and but we respect each other's time off as well, right? Like she knows if I'm not answering, it's because I'm doing something fun or whatever. Yeah.
Also, a lot of our best ideas come to us while we're on vacation.
Yeah,
That makes
It's
sense.
really a time. I don't know if it's because we're experiencing, other bakeries that we're visiting or other BnBs where we're staying. We're always pulling ideas, and that sort of brainstorming doesn't happen normally.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that leads me to something else I want to ask you. Tell us about your experience training in France, because that's quite impressive.
Very cool.
You can say
I'm gonna sit back, man.
I'm going to say this wrong. But you've trained in France in the way they do things, the way they bake, world renowned, amazing, and you're bringing that right here to Newfoundland.
I'll toot his horn and say that it's called the Harvard of culinary schools.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Ferrandi is the name of the school.
Yeah.
I spent a few weeks in their bread lab, and the cool thing about this place is they have a very scientific approach, and I'm a very academic person, so it was a perfect fit. So spending 8 hours a day just talking about bread and viennoiserie was incredible, and learning from the people who mastered it. I think the main goal of doing it was so that I could use their recipes and use their ingredients to make these products, because there's something you get tactically by using their flour, their butter, that is just so different from our flour and our butter that you can't just take their recipe home and create the same product, because it won't work. So without that tangible hands-on experience, you can't adapt to Newfoundland flour, Newfoundland butter.
So
Wow.
So obviously I know nothing about this. What do you mean by that? Can you explain?
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference between, like, to me as a non-baker, flour is flour, but clearly, obviously it's not. So what's the difference in those types of ingredients? What makes theirs different than ours?
So they have a different classification system for flour. Here in the grocery store, you'll see all-purpose. You might see pastry and whole wheat.
And that type 00 maybe.
Maybe a pizza flour.
Okay.
They have dozens of classifications, and it ranges from T65 to T200 with multiples of 5 in between.
Okay.
And it has to do with the strength of the flour, the amount of protein in the flour, the amount of ash content, the amount of mineral content, and all these flours behave differently when you convert them into a dough.
Wow. I'm in the mood for pastries now.
But like a more tangible thing that you might have encountered yourself is our butter. So in France, if you take let's say a stick of butter, you can actually bend it, and right out of the fridge it bends. If you take butter from Canada, out of the fridge, it will crack.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to create a croissant where the butter is rolled very thinly between the dough and it's cracking, you won't get a good croissant. So what do we do about that?
Right.
So what do you do about that? How do you
buy
import your
French butter?
ingredients? Yeah. Do you import your ingredients from France
We
now? Or?
don't, because the cost is astronomical.
Nobody's gonna buy a $12 croissant.
Fair.
Yeah.
No, well, that's what I was wondering. So you're doing the best with the ingredients you have.
I think it's so if you recognize that, hey, look, the butter is breaking. How warm does the butter need to be so that it doesn't break? Even though my recipe from France says the butter should be at -7 degrees. Obviously at -7 degrees here, it's going to break, but if it's at 13 degrees, it doesn't.
Okay.
So does that mean I need to make croissant dough at 13 degrees. Does that mean that the dough is going to proof too quickly? So I reduce the amount of yeast. It gets very scientific.
Yeah, ooh,
But
I like that.
without the hands-on experience, you wouldn't know that the butter feels different
Right.
at -7 in France.
That is mind-blowing.
My daughter.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I love it.
You know,
I love the science behind it. My daughter and I want to go to France this year. Any suggestions on where we should? We definitely are gonna want to see the Eiffel Tower, but we're open. She loves pastries.
Yeah.
We'll do a little stab.
everywhere. Just go. Yeah.
And we lived there for a month, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And we found our places where we like to go every day. Right? Like you find those spots really fast. And they're on every street corner, right? Like
Are you both fluent in French?
No.
No? So you can get by fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
French speaking. Now, I've even been to France before. I was much younger in the military and just a completely different person at that point in time. And I stumbled my way through and survived.
Right. And I think I don't want to speak for the French people, of course, but I think that they're happy if you make an effort, right?
Yeah.
Even with our rudimentary Newfoundland Canadian French, after a few days, you sort of get into what their idioms are when you order a croissant, and they tell you how much it is, and they ask you any anything else, and you kind of go, what?
I wasn't ready for that.
I wasn't ready. I just learned Duolingo. How to order a croissant. The hat is red. Right?
Yeah.
But you get it fairly quickly, I guess.
So then you go.
I remember
no
one
English.
time, the first time I was in France, or I guess the only other time, I was at a Subway and I was trying to order a sub, and I asked for a napkin, and she looked at me and just burst out laughing, and I was like, I just need something to wipe my face. And she was like, do you know what you just asked for? And I was like, why? She was like, a diaper. I was
Yep, I was about to say, I bet you asked for a diaper.
like, her face, she was like, why do you want a diaper?
Why do you want a diaper? She's like, as a matter of fact, I do have one.
Oh god. Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be a good trip.
Yeah.
So you studied in France. Have you gone anywhere? I guess you don't really need to go anywhere else if you studied in France. Eh?
Yeah.
Just a lot of just a lot of experimentation since you've gone to school there. Or was it a formal school? Was it
It was a formal program.
okay? Was it like a degree, or what? How's it
A
broken?
diploma.
A diploma. Okay. And how long was it?
How long was it?
It was a few weeks, yeah.
3
Okay.
weeks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there to continue the stream of questions about this? Is there another step? Do you have to go back every so often to?
They have another program that is pastry. So I did the bread and viennoiserie side, and then they have a part that's like more tarts and cakes and things like that.
Yeah.
Then they have bigger programs, but I can't leave for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So,
Right.
So I wouldn't be able to do those.
If you had the
Yeah.
opportunity to do another one, where would you want to go with it?
I think I think San Francisco.
Okay.
That would be the San Francisco Baking Institute. I mean, they're the birthplace of sourdough, American sourdough. So to get some of those skills would be interesting.
Yeah.
Really, you just can't go to the States right now.
No.
It'll be a few years before we
We gotta
get on there.
we gotta let all this stuff that's happening
Yes.
Yeah.
blow
Yeah.
over.
It's a wild time.
Yeah.
It
really
is
wild.
too. Life is better with bread.
Absolutely.
So actually, do you get your ingredients? Do you just buy locally? Is it Canadian? Do you import things? Has this actually impacted your business with the tariffs between Canada and the U.S. and?
It hasn't. We actually went through our storage area a week ago, maybe, to see what we were buying that actually was American, and there might have been one item.
Yeah,
that was
a
American.
lot of it's Canadian.
And
That's great.
Everything else is Canadian.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's
I
kind of
mean, even the flowers in France, many of them come from Canada.
Yeah, it's Canadian wheat.
Canadian wheat.
Whoa! Back up! You just said that they have this whole system
Yeah.
and this diversity in their flowers, and there's so many. And
They
here
take the
we have-
wheat and they sort and
They mill it over there.
mill it the way they need it to be milled.
Oh, so they
They take our grain
and they make it better.
Yeah.
and they make it.
They just control it from
It's
much
like
more.
we'll take that. You don't know what you're doing. But don't please no. Let us
No.
let us do that.
Sweetie, no.
Cool.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
So other than that, now, like all entrepreneurs, some of us have side gigs for passion, for extra income. I think you guys have, at least one of you has some side gigs. Hint, hint. Mr.
Tell us
Performer.
about your new series or what you got going on.
So, the idea came up maybe a year ago, where I don't even know how it came up, but I thought, you know what? There's this Newfoundland tradition, and maybe it's not only Newfoundland, but I remember specifically very clearly there's this tradition of, a church fundraiser or a school fundraiser where, the school says, we're going to publish a cookbook. And so all the teachers and all the students bring in the recipes, and somebody, back in the 80s, the school secretary would type it out and whatever.
I remember these.
The fundraiser cookbook.
Absolutely.
Do you have any at home? Your parents do, I'm sure.
I'd have to check with my mom.
I'm sure they do.
I remember those. I could never.
I'm obsessed with them. Because, for the obvious reason, like some of the recipes are just out in the pea patch somewhere. Like, they're just bizarre. But it also, like, what I find most interesting about it is it's this community coming together, number one, to raise funds for a cause, whether it be the church or the school or cancer benefit or whatever. But also, for us, it gives us sort of a snapshot in time of what ingredients were available in St. Albans in 1984.
Wow,
right?
that's fascinating.
Well, I'm sure they didn't have...
Or maybe earlier, maybe 1960s.
Maybe in the 60s, right? Like, what, I'm sure they didn't have then what we have now. And even the way recipes were written or the techniques that were used or whatever is completely different. So I found this fascinating, being the non-baker of the two of us. Wouldn't it be fun to start finding some of these books and recipes and become a big star on TikTok and bake some of these recipes? So yeah, I think today I put out recipe number 3 or 4. Like, it's been 4 weeks. Yeah, and the feedback has been good. And it's just a bit of foolishness, right? It's some entertainment. I'm not looking to teach Newfoundland and alter the way we all look at baking, right? It's just a bit of fun for me and hopefully for the viewer. And if I screw up a recipe, then I screw up a recipe and I'll do it again. Really, it's just fun. I'm having fun with it.
But and it goes right back to social media marketing theory, is that it's not about posting the product and trying to sell it. It's just being entertaining and giving good content that people want to see.
Yeah, informative, educational, and there's a third pillar, which I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
What have you baked so far? What were the 3 recipes?
So the first one was the first one was my grandmother's orange bread.
Yeah.
So over in the bakery, you may have noticed we have these 4 recipes up on the wall.
Yes.
2 of them are from my mother's book, and they're in her handwriting, and 2 of them are from his mother's handwriting. So I took my grandmother's off the wall, put it down, and baked my way through it, and it was good. It was good. It was a little dry. So yeah, but with a glaze, I think I might have made a glaze and put on it and made it better. So there was that one, and then the next week we did your grandmother's cut glass squares.
Yep.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Because half of the recipe wasn't even in the recipe.
Oh.
Yeah, he was like, wait a second, no, that's wrong. I was like, what do you mean it's wrong? Because it said orange juice, but he said, no, she would never use orange juice. She always used pineapple juice.
Oh.
Right? So that was handwritten in the margin of the book. So that was fun. And then last week I did old time molasses buns from a book from Grey River that my brother had because he taught there. And that was a riot. That was the one where you got the failure. And then this week I did oh god, this week I did pork and beans bread.
Pork and beans
You heard
bread.
it, yeah. Pork and beans bread.
So you put
A can of Heinz pork and beans.
Molasses pork and beans.
Oh.
And yeah,
Doesn't
exactly.
sound good.
No, and so you gotta like put it in with the ingredients and like beat them. I have a hand mixer, so beat them until the beans like break up. And it was weird.
The result is like a zucchini loaf kind of thing, or a banana bread.
okay.
And I was trying to figure out, like, why does this exist? Why do we need a pork and beans bread? But There was no fresh fruit like in St. Albans in 1940 or whatever it's from. You know, they're not
Right.
buying bananas every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can get canned pork and beans.
Right. And I will say also the recipe
Wow.
was also your grandmother's.
Oh.
Written in the book.
This weird thing
And-
came from your side.
I know, yeah, all the weird stuff is here. And it was in her handwriting, and it was in her clean handwriting. Remember,
Yeah.
We had talked about once that it was before she got her arthritis, so
Yes.
she was pretty young
Yeah.
when she wrote this recipe.
Right.
Right.
So that must have been if she was born in the teens or 20s,
I don't know how to do it.
then the recipe is probably like 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? Like 1930, 1940 maybe.
Side note, what blows me away, nothing to do with any bakery, is that when we talk about the 20s, we're actually in the 20s again.
Yeah.
Just
They told me this was going to be a professional production.
Oh, it sounds weird when you say it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well,
20s.
you know, you talk about the roaring 20s. That is the roaring 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're in the 20s.
Yeah. It's roaring.
For 5
It's
years
roaring
now.
out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark and Eldon, we have a recurring segment on the show where we ask our guests to provide an actionable takeaway for our viewers. So something that you do in your life every day that you think somebody else could benefit from. Does anything come to mind?
I think for me, I try to always, in the business and in life, always try to lead with kindness as much as possible. We're all human, and it doesn't always work, but into being mindful of other people and yourself, and always just trying to be kind, even if it's a difficult decision and you have to disappoint somebody or make somebody else upset. As long as it's done with kindness, I think that's number one for me.
Does anything come to mind for you?
For me, it's something I hold on to is that maybe less spiritual than that, more down to earth, is that I try to every day work on something that is important but not what's the word?
Urgent.
Important but not urgent. So it's the things that you really value that if you don't deal with them, they become very urgent.
Right.
So it can be as simple as, keeping up with the bookkeeping so that suddenly it's not due and it's very urgent and you're behind. Or making sure the maintenance cleaning is done at the bakery so that, 5 months from now, a piece of equipment doesn't break. Finding those important but not urgent things and dealing with them every day so that they don't become critical and urgent.
I find that so tricky
Yeah.
to do because, we're all busy. We get up and the day comes at you fast, and the phone calls, the text messages, the meetings, things you need to do are coming
Are
at
urgent.
You. They're urgent.
Yeah.
They're coming right at you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. I totally get that. And the kindness thing, not so much. No.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg said something very similar, actually. He said that he could spend his entire day putting out fires. I mean, he runs Meta, which is one of the largest companies in the world. But he chooses not to. I mean, you have to know how to prioritize other things and also detach as well.
Yep.
Ryan?
Some fires just gotta let burn.
See, was that a personal attack right there?
From your side of the table, too.
I know.
I know.
I like that something you mentioned, Eldon, about the creative side of your business. And that's actually something that Ryan's business doesn't have too much of. It's very much, he's outsourced the creativity to a designer, and he's just got to kind of be logical about it. So I wonder why, is that one of the reasons why you haven't taken a vacation in so long? Because you don't really have the need to be creative.
Why is it warm in here all of a sudden? so much pressure. What's going on?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Do you really think there's no creativity
Well, I don't know.
in contracting and construction?
I'll let Ryan answer that one.
It can be. It can get. It's a routine. It's become a bit of a routine type of business operation where you kind of do it for so long. I think I have actually got a vacation coming up. I'll have you know.
I'm proud of you.
And I'm looking forward to it because you guys said some of your best. I think Eldon, you said some of your best ideas come from when you pull yourself out of the business for a little bit and you go and you relax and you experience new things. I'm looking forward to to that. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think that it's important to get away from it, step back, and if you're working on any type of problem in life or just in a business and you're facing problems every day, that it is important to step back, walk away from it, especially when you're frustrated, and then change your mindset, do something different. I think it's a natural thing that solutions and new ideas will come to you.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely, I hear what you're saying.
I got a feeling though, when you do take your vacation, you're not going to think about property projects at all, and your entire creative brain is going to go to the co-working space, and you're going to have some good thoughts around the co-working space.
It could. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to, take. Dude, it's going to be life-changing, and I'm just going to continue to do that. I'm going to take a page out of these. 5-week vacation? I don't know. Baby steps, 1 week at a time.
Week at a time.
Week at a time.
Pro tip is that the best ideas come on vacation when you've got a few cocktails in. Those are the best ideas.
Absolutely.
I believe that.
That'll probably happen.
And I think like you, I also have a partner who doesn't imbibe, and so you and I can say, "Look at this great idea," and then Ellen will go, "Okay, sure."
He'll forget that tomorrow.
Let's just ignore that. If I don't pay attention to it, it'll go away.
Right? He'll go on to something else.
Anyway, we're getting a little deep into the philosophy of business here, but it's it's true. It's important to work hard, but it's also important to take some time back, to reflect, to grow, and change and pivot and keep the business running and operational. It's just as important.
Yeah. Whenever we go away, we even if we're going to Salmon Cove or Ship Harbor, like where family cottages are, it's funny. As soon as we leave the overpass, we somehow magically don't talk about the business. And then we're driving home. And then we hit the overpass, and then somehow it flicks back, and we start talking about the business again.
As soon as you get in within city limits,
yeah,
it's like a switch flicks.
Yeah, it's bizarre,
Wi-Fi.
and it's not like deliberate or a conscious decision. It's just somehow it strangely happens.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with your environment and how you train yourself to think in that environment. There's, I'm not an expert on this, and I don't know who wrote the books on it, but there is something to be said. So, for example, in a home office.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at working at home, but for a lot of years I had a home office. And when I would go in there, it was work mode. My body would just switch into work mode. But then when I would go into the kitchen, the work would stay in the office.
Okay.
And in the kitchen, it was time to relax, eat, drink.
Yeah.
And I could never sit at the dining room table and work. But when I walked to my office, my body and my mind automatically changed in that it's okay. This is where I work. It's time to be productive. So for you guys, unfortunately, the whole city gives that to you.
Right. Yeah, I can't work at the dining room table either. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a place where I can work. I have to go up to that.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Postmasters has coming up in the future? Is there anything exciting you're working on? Any new recipes?
I want to see, by the way, by special request, a grand piano in the middle of the dining room floor and a couple of performances. You can sell tickets and sell pastries.
So tickets and pastries. Piano and pastries.
Pianos and pastries.
Uppercakes.
Uppercakes. There you go.
There you go. See, you're welcome. You can have that one.
All right. I have to give you a quarter so I can buy the rights to the idea. In terms of like new ideas and stuff coming up, geez, good question.
We have some new staff joining us. We're growing again. And with that comes new skills. We're excited to see what they'll bring to the table.
Oh, I was going to ask you guys about a second location, but before I even go there, whose idea was it, and how did you find and capitalize on the opportunity to bring Postmasters to Botanical Gardens and
Cape Spear.
Cape Spear? Thank you.
What was the question again? Sorry.
So rather than just you open the bakery, you could have just stayed there.
Yeah.
But you saw an opportunity and you capitalized on it. And you moved. You had the bakery, but you also have a Cape Spear location and a pop-up. We'll call it.
Yeah.
That might not be the right word for it at botanical gardens.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like a huge opportunity.
It seemed
like-
important for us to diversify a little bit, and so that was our way of having, multiple projects that benefit from each other.
Right.
So the staff actually move between these locations a little bit, so it helps us provide more full-time jobs as opposed to a lot of part-time jobs. It keeps people employed. We like that, and we can leverage one business to help another. So when it's time for Merry and Bright at the Botanical Gardens and they need 2,000 cookies a day, the bakery can start pumping out the cookies for the
Merry and
cafe.
But did they come to you, or did you go to them and be like, "Hey, we should do a little shop here"?
Each one of them put out an RFP.
Oh, okay.
So because they're both government entities, right? Parks Canada and Memorial University.
Yeah.
They had to put out a request for proposals, and so I bullied us into putting in a proposal, and we were successful proponents in both of those locations.
Yeah. Do you and I mean, I would think that would be successful in helping drive the business because people are seeing the name, the brand, Postmasters, in these key locations. And that's got to be some brand recognition developed there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that sort of happened, I think that part of it just sort of happened by accident.
Yeah.
I think we were still very, very young. The business was very, very young. And we were still pretty green at the time. And we just thought more locations equals more money, maybe. Turns out it does not.
But sometimes there's a lot of things you'll do in business that doesn't turn a profit or show the benefit right up front.
Right.
Yeah.
It has a nice long tail effect to it. And I always think that the best business decisions are the long tail businesses, long tailed effect business decisions. If you're making decisions today because in result of looking for an answer or a solution for a problem today, and you're always just looking a few days ahead, you're not gonna get there.
Right.
You need to make decisions that benefit your business in the long run.
Right.
To see any success, I think.
And I think that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, to think like, oh, my business needs to still thrive 10, 15, 20 years, 25 years. You're really in it for the long run, not for like, okay, yes, do I need to make payroll this week? Absolutely. But we're not just looking at today, right?
Yeah.
It's really, and that's something that me personally, I find difficult to grasp and wrap my head around, is about like, okay, this business needs to thrive for 20 years or however long, right? Like the bed and breakfast needs to stand for 5, 10, 20 years. It's not just this summer.
And friends of ours who are also in business have always said, you've got 5 years with, nose to the ground. It's gonna be a hard 5 years. And like if you look at the bakery in that location, we're only 1 year in. And so
we keep resetting our 5 years for some reason.
It sort of restarts the count.
We should be in year 5 now, but somehow we're in year 1 again.
When you make those leaps, it starts over. So we've got another 4 years before we see any benefits.
Yeah,
right. I think it starts over, but like what you said before, you're carrying that experience forward.
Exactly.
So that's coming with you the whole time.
Yep.
I gotta ask you, what is going on at Postmasters in the evenings? Because I look over from my house and it looks like Kevin McAllister's house at Christmas. The blinds are pulled down. There's always people dancing and partying. Are you having like private events? What's going on over there?
Yeah, we have started events.
Yeah.
So a good friend of ours, Heather, she started a business called Fantasy NL, and so she does. I think her mandate, her mission is, as we get older, we forget to have fun. So she wants people to have fun, and she orchestrates fun for people. And so she'll do like a music bingo evening or a murder mystery evening or she did like a puzzle competition, puzzle putting together competition. Did your team win or came second?
No, we came a glorious second. We lost first.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, that's happening, which has been really a lot of fun.
There's also a few musicians that have set up, monthly performances. So they use the space. It's really from the get-go, we had this plan that it would become a community space where people would, have events and things like that. So we're delighted by it.
Yeah.
So is that post on your Postmasters Instagram page or Facebook page, or how does one find out about those events?
So Instagram or Facebook.
Yep.
We also have a mailing list
Okay.
that we'll send out a little newsletter once a month. Try to send out a little newsletter once a month. And then we should be putting posters over at the bakery, but that somehow slips away. There's so much to do. Yeah. But I think so something you said earlier about it being somewhere where that you wanted to go, right? Like,
Yeah.
And the coffee that you wanted was that you wanted a place to go in the evening that wasn't a bar.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? That wasn't a loud bar. Like, bars are fun and nothing against the bars. I love a bar. But, like, if you want to go and have a glass of wine or a beer, we have a liquor license, by the way. If you want to have a glass of wine or a beer, you can go over to the bakery and have it. And, you're not going to have to yell at your conversation partner. You can sit down and have a pastry and a beer.
Or pizza and a beer.
Yeah, there you go, a pizza and a beer.
Ooh.
And do some work, and there's some soft music, but like there's music playing in the background, but it's not blaring into your face.
It's secretly Eldon's mixtape from 1992.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you, I love that idea. And actually, Ryan did the kitchen in this house, and I had him design the kitchen so that I could turn it into a space where you could serve coffee and beer and have exactly what you're trying to do with Postmasters.
Yeah.
So that's great. I love it. Absolutely
Yeah,
love it.
everybody wants to go out, but not everybody wants to always go to a downtown.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the opportunity here.
So are your hours accommodate for that now, or is it something you're looking to move into?
Yeah, we're open Wednesdays to Saturdays. We're open late, at least until 9 o'clock. But if there's something happening, it can go later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good to know.
that's it.
What else did you have on your mind?
I don't know. I need a glass of wine, and we can
Yeah,
we can keep this party going.
Beer and a pizza.
Yeah, I mean we're close by. Let's go get a beer and a pizza and keep it going.
Sounds good.
I don't know, guys. I think that's it for right now. Do you guys want anything you want to selflessly promote? Shamelessly promote. That's what I meant to say.
Is there anything that we haven't said that we want to say?
I don't know.
This is the time. Sell it, boys. Sell it.
No, I feel like we've checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
That we wanted to say.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Great. Well, we'd love to have you back. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
us. Fun.
thanks.